Hello everyone and welcome to our first lecture for this class. Before we could dwell into image editing and print advertising, let me first introduce to you the different medium that you can actually use. We call this multimedia. Multimedia in the sense that it has different medium that you can use. Multi meaning many and media, the medium of communication wherein you can pass or use to pass messages. So what is multimedia? It encompasses five different elements. We have text, images, sound and audio, animation and video, and interactivity. Let's go first with text because this is the easiest or the simplest of all elements. So multimedia isn't just images, movies, and sound. Don't forget that text, the one that you write with, is also important, and it is the simplest of all elements. So you need to be creative with it. And how do you do that? Well, you use typography. It is known as the creative use of text. For example, these here are an example of a typography. These are just a creative use of text, and it appears much more interesting than just the text that they represent. For example, the word Pikachu. The word Pikachu was or is used in this image repeatedly until it forms the Pikachu character. And then these are these of a font that's interesting. And let's go to images, which will be the coverage of this class. So images can be photographs or graphics, full color, or black and white, and anything in between. So a photograph is actually an image that is taken through a lens of a camera, while graphics are images or pictures made with an image editing tool or a combination of photographs and other graphical elements that are made in an image editing tool. So those are the difference between graphics and a photograph. So how do you optimize images for presentation use, especially for printing? So first and foremost, you resize images. So this could be changing a picture or a photograph or a graphic image from a small size to a large size. This is the simplest of manipulating images, but this is also one of the most dangerous. Why? Because most image editing tool allows you to resize an image to make it large or to make it smaller. When a small image is resized into something much more larger, what will happen? It pixelates. Yes. While a large image resized to a small image will lose its quality. Meaning, if that large image is reduced to a smaller image and then you try to resize that image again to a larger size, the large quality or the higher quality of that image is already lost. Which means you are stuck with a smaller, lower quality image. Another one is rotation. So rotation is to make your text or to rotate your text into a correct position. Now, this is also one of the easiest to use in manipulation of images, but little do people know it's also a little bit dangerous. If you can still remember the image viewer of Windows, wherein when you open that image and then you rotate the picture, you can easily rotate the picture, right? And then when you open that picture again, it is stuck on that state, the rotation state. What actually that image viewer do, or the picture viewer does, the Windows picture viewer does, is that every time you rotate an image, it saves that image into a little bit lower quality or lower, smaller file size. So, which means it's dangerous in a sense because every time you rotate the image, it is saved on a lower quality, just a little bit, but that little bit of loss of quality is taken every rotation made. Which means if you are going to rotate 4 times, let's say a single rotation takes away about 10% of the quality of the image. So if you are going to rotate it 4 times, so that's a lot of quality taken out of your original image. So be careful when you rotate your image. Next up is cropping. Take a look at this picture. These are two individuals talking about crops. But maybe nalugi ang ilahang business. So, or nag-break up ni silang duha. So the owner of the crop decides to remove the unwanted person from the image. So what he does is he did this. Now, if you try to look at the two pictures, it creates a different meaning by just removing or by just scrapping that picture. One is the person seems to be talking to somebody, and the guy on the left is listening, while the image on the right now is parang nagmuni-muni lang siya. So that's what cropping can do. Another one is contrast and brightness. Many of us use this, no? So often because most of us take pictures inside or indoors right now, especially during the pandemic. Many of our pictures taken are taken indoors. So what happens is most of our pictures, especially if the indoor is or does not have sufficient lighting, tends to be very dark. So what we do is before we actually post it online, we adjust its contrast and brightness. So take a look at this picture. These two pictures are the same. The one on top is the original image, while the one at the bottom is the image where the contrast and brightness is put to an extreme level, just to show you that the contrast, how the contrast and brightness affects an image. Now, you may be thinking, nice ang effect niya. Yes, you could say that. But unfortunately, if you take a closer look from the original image here, when you try to apply contrast and brightness on this image, what happens is you are actually going to lose some information on that image. Meaning, some details are going to be lost because there are light areas here on the top image that are enhanced so much that mawala na ang iyahang details, and dark parts of the image are also put to an extreme level. So mawala na ang iyahang original yun nga quality of the image or the information that is in that image. So that's contrast and brightness. Next up is color change. Now this is one of the most interesting way to apply or modify images or pictures. An example here is this picture wherein the image on the left was actually removing all the colors except for the blue feathers on the cap of the child. Now, many of our cameras right now can do that. No? Even sa cell phone. We call this one flash image. And of course, according to Dora pa, all you need to do is to explore. We will be doing that one all throughout this course. So aside from those techniques in image manipulation, what are the different tools that you could use? There are actually a lot of tools out there that you can use. But one of the best tools you can use is of course the Photoshop. Unfortunately, it's not free. Although I would understand that there are many of us here in the Philippines may have been able to use this tool because of piracy. But because we do not want piracy, we can use GIMP, or you can use GIMP. This is actually an award-winning image editing tool which is free and open source. It is now comparable to Photoshop. But of course, because Photoshop is proprietary, it has a lot of years of experience in the field, it's still much more better. That's why it's expensive. But there are also tools out there that will make our lives a lot easier. For example, while Photoshop uh, can do image editing in a single click, GIMP can do that in maybe two or three. But of course, those tools that are available on the internet or on our mobile applications can just edit pictures with a single click also. Modify some parts of the image, enhance an image with just a single click. So this here is a logo for an Aviary image editing tool, which is available for Android and iOS. We also have Pixlr, which was from Autodesk pero wala na siya sa Autodesk karon, and of course Instagram. No? It will make our image editing experience a lot easier by just a single click or a single tap. Okay, so that's it for images. Now let's proceed to sound. It's not just our eyes that need information, so do our ears. So that's music, narration, and sound effects. All add another dimension to the message you are trying to convey. So this is an example of a sound. Are you familiar with this sound? No? For those of you who are familiar with this, then congratulations, you just heard the sound of my people. But for those who do not know what this sound is, it's actually the sound of a modem trying to connect to the internet. Now, as mentioned, sound adds another layer of information that will also enhance your communication. Take a look at this image, for example. This is an image actually of Peter Parker crying, but if you try to add sound over that animation, it actually changes the meaning of your image. Anyway, this is another example of the use of sound. This is actually a scene from a Dexter's Laboratory episode where Dexter, trying to study for his French class, used a tool that malfunctioned and results in him only saying a single phrase, which is omelette du fromage or cheese omelette, or was that cheese omelette?
Omelette au fromage.
Anyway, sounds also catch attention or captures attention. It's especially useful on phones or mobile phones which have very small screens. And also very useful on phones in general so that you don't have to actually stare at your screens all day waiting for someone to message you. You just have to listen to the notification and then you can look at your phone when that happens. But of course, it also has its advantages. Disadvantages, I mean. It can be very large in file size, not memorable as visual information, and good quality can be very difficult to produce because it would require appropriate hardware and software. So what are the different audio editing tools? We have
Adobe Audition.
And we also have a free and open source award-winning software that is also an audio editing tool. It's called Audacity. So tips for audio in presentation. So make sure that it's appropriate, the quality is good, and if possible, use alternative methods for the audio. No? And of course, give your users control because not everyone wants to hear music playing on your profile when they load. If you could remember Friendster, if you've been there. Next is moving images. Moving images can be very powerful. They often tell a story, provide information, and try to get a message across the viewer. These are supposed to be animated pictures, but because I think Prezi updated its back end, JF pictures or JF images, JF animations are no longer supported. So we're stuck with single frame pictures. Anyway, this is supposedly 4 frames that are put together that causes animation. So this is a sample of this is an example actually of a frame-based animation wherein, for example, you have 4 frames, and then when flipped fast enough, it creates animation. That's actually what you do with drawing pictures at the side of your notebooks, and then flip them so fast that it creates an animation that just like Goku doing his Kamihami wave. Then this is an example of path animation wherein a preset path is drawn and then an object follows that path for animation. So it's not animating. And this is also another one. It's also frame-based animation wherein each frame has a drawing and it's animated if you flip through those frames fast enough. Different video editing tools. We have this one is Corel Visual Studio, the famous Windows Movie Maker, and the difficult Adobe Premiere. And we also have an open source software for that and free. There's no need for you to buy. It's called Blender. And finally, of course, we have interactivity. So that's it. That's multimedia. So if you have any questions regarding multimedia, you can write it down on the comment section, or you can send me a personal message here in our classroom. I'll see you again on our next lecture that will focus on images. Have a nice day.